Yeah, do you want to start with introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for inviting me here. And my name is Utkrishti Katheria. I am 23 years old. I am a cisgender woman, but I also belong to the queer community. And I'm a therapist based in UP right now, but I take sessions online and offline both. So I'm from this caste called Dhanuk, and it is a scheduled caste based in parts of UP and MP, and mostly we are associated with the Chambal region of both Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. So basically, all the bandit queen and Daku stories, whatever you've heard. So I belong to those areas. Yeah. So yeah, that's about me. um, yeah.
Thanks for that introduction. I'll also start with the first question that we have. So the aim of this particular interview is that we want to elaborate more on representation and caste.
Hmm.
And so the first question that I have for you is then that, who are the people or role models who have been an influence in your life? And this could be anyone, this could be family members, people, leaders in your community, literature, or movement leaders, anyone who have been an influence with respect to your caste identity, particularly.
Yeah, so I think like I I became aware about my caste when I was probably 10 years old or something. Before that, I wasn't really aware, but unconsciously I used to feel that uh, some sort of guilt or some sort of burden. I used to feel that, and probably it was because of the social environment, that there was a little bit of extra burden to perform well or study well. And I started realizing that other kids are not the second generation or the first generation of people who are studying. I'm the second generation of people in my family who actually studied till masters, till post graduation. So that consciousness came from there, and the influence has been from my family. First of all, I remember an incident very starkly, which is that I was sitting, like I was with my tuition teacher, like हम लोग पढ़ रहे थे, and my tuition teacher belonged to an upper caste. And he was a college going person at that time. And उन्होंने बोला कि ये SC ST और OBC ये रिजर्वेशन की वजह से हम लोग को सीट नहीं मिलती वगैरह वगैरह. And I was feeling uncomfortable. I didn't have any clue about what is this. I was just like 9, 10 years old. And after that tuition class ended, like it was happening in my home. My mother came and she told me, like she explained that how reservations are important, because those are the only means through which people like us have been able to come forward and get some representation, despite having लाइक यो तो भूल वो तो भूल जाओ कि उतना पढ़ाई आप कर लो, उतना आपका मेरिट बन जाए कि आप कॉम्पीट कर पाओ. रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं था कहीं पे भी. सो that she has been very vocal, and I used to feel very guilty for a long time, like maybe till school. After school only I started admitting, like कहीं पे भी caste related कुछ भी conversation होता था, I used to just like be very I remember my body used to freeze, and I would not say a word. Like I tried not participating in the bashing conversations where people were just bashing so-called lower caste people कि अरे ये लोग free में seat ले जाते हैं वगैरह वगैरह. And I didn't have arguments against it. I was like, yeah, merit. पे होना चाहिए? I mean, what, why are reservations there? Like, I had those confusions as a young person. So I didn't have any counter arguments. So I did not participate in those conversations. But after coming to college, I think my college education was also very instrumental. People from my family, all like, I slowly realized that there are many people in my life who are from marginalized sections, and I've not been aware because we've not been talking about this. So even my parlor wali auntie, she was like, I had conversation. These are the people who've influenced me. Like, these are the first people. Like, I remember we went and for I went for a haircut, and they started talking. Everybody started talking, and there was a person, random person, who said, I don't go to hospitals because, any SC/ST person comes and just sits there and drinks water from there and all that. I mean, I just cannot tolerate that. So those kind of conversations have been very prevalent and very normal in my life. I've had friends who I finally came to know also belong to the marginalized caste after we left school. Like, we never talked about it. Whereas other friends who were like, क्या कहते हैं, मतलब बहुत visibly they were upper caste, like they had upper caste surnames. So they were very proudly, they used to say, hey, I'm a Brahmin, hey, I'm a Kshatriya, whatever. Like, but we never had. They used to ask us also, and I just would try to hide. That is what I remember as a child. But slowly, there were some influences which really changed my life. As I came to college, we used to have literature. So we had, Indian language literature and comparative literature, all those things. So we started having these narratives from, like, all these Telugu stories translated into English, and different caste perspectives like Bama and all those people. Then Namdeo Dhasal's poems, and then I became aware about Dalit Panther movement, and somehow I got very connected to all that. Like, I felt like, yeah, this was something I'm very related to. So I started reading those things, and of course, B.R. Ambedkar has been a very instrumental figure. I started reading his work. There was a graphic novel based on his life, which was introduced in our course. It was called Bhimayana, and that was a very moving piece, I would say, because it sort of made me aware about how his struggles as a mahar, to get a haircut or get water, or even like small things like having a well of water to get your own water, was so difficult because upper caste people came and just defecated in it so that people could not access clean water. So all those things really moved me, and somewhere I could understand all that. Slowly, my doubts became clear. I mean, I was just like, yeah, I don't have to feel guilty if I'm, because I am, like, my family was privileged enough. Slowly we became well to do. So I used to have that burden that I'm not poor and I'm a Dalit, and I just could not. I don't know. I just felt very burdened about that because I thought I had to prove all the time. Whenever I did anything, I had to do it perfectly because I was like, if I get it without proving that I'm good enough, then it'll all come to that, yeah, you belong to that caste and you got that privilege. You won't believe, but I don't even have a caste certificate because I fill every exam through general quota because I just don't. Slowly I'm coming, like, I've embraced my identity, but now I don't feel that guilt anymore. But earlier I had to prove. So these people were very instrumental. Then, of course, when Rohit Vemula institutional murder happened, that really shook me, like many Dalit kids, I guess. And I've read his letters so many times, and yeah, somewhere I don't know, it like, uh, there were things, I had no awareness, but these things used to move me so much, like newspaper articles which talked about manual scavengers. And I just realized that, yeah, I want to do something about it, and that is what I aim to. And all these small stories, all there are many local stories. Like, I worked in Chhattisgarh for a while, and I came to know of a community called Satnami community. And I realized there are these local leaders who've been working so hard. But yeah, they have not been getting recognition. They don't have biopics because yeah, it'll be so controversial. So those are my influences. There are many people coming right now. Like there are so many Instagram pages which have rap artists, and they write about their work. Other literary, yeah, the major literary influence on me has been Om Prakash Valmiki. Personally, I've been very moved to do something because of him. So I read his autobiography. It's called Joothan. It's in Hindi and उसके दो parts हैं, and I literally cried. It was मतलब जो भी उसमें चीजें हैं indescribable कि how they used to live in almost dearth of resources, and there was no access to मतलब ये बस बेसिक चीज है. एंड आई जस्ट फील सो प्रिविलेज समटाइम्स कि ये सब मुझे नहीं झेलना पड़ा, बट वही है. तो आई जस्ट these have been pushing me, these have been giving me strength कि ठीक है, no matter what. And now uh, I actually even participating in this interview was कि हाँ करना है, कुछ करना है, because it's time to let people know कि casteism still is very prevalent, and only अब उसके अलग अलग रूप आ गए हैं, बस और कुछ नहीं है. And we need these literary representations, film representations. I think we recently had वो एक anthology में that Geeli Pucchi करके, there was a small story with Konkana Sen Sharma. So that again was like, yes, मतलब I felt so nice. तो जब when there's a representation, you feel seen. Otherwise, there are always questions. Because I always question ki why in Bollywood there is almost no person from marginalized community. Like there are so many movies made, Article 15 ye wo, but we talk about even queer community ki bhai jab you are talking about trans characters, so it should be played by people who are trans. But similarly, I feel ki bhai, like how can upper caste person play, मतलब ये उसका फिल्म फेयर या नेशनल अवार्ड वर्दी परफॉर्मेंस हो जाएगा, बट इट इज रियलिटी ऑफ समवन्स लाइफ एंड इट रिक्वायर्स डीपर अंडरस्टैंडिंग देन दैट. So yeah, those have been my influences.
And thank you for sharing about this. I was also listening to you and actually missing the other person who had agreed to be on the interview because with her when we were speaking, I had a call with her and I was telling her that, initially we actually intended to do it in individual interviews, but then in the previous panel, Vimal was speaking about, the power of stories,
Hmm.
um, and how stories, when they are told within a group of people, how impactful that is. And I thought, hey, why not get people together and speak uh,
Hmm.
to each other? So I was also really missing her.
Yeah.
Um, and she had the exact same thing you said, that that with this interview I felt the need to talk. She had expressed similar things. Um, and I'm also wondering if you can, you've been saying a bit about, all these people or all the literature, how the kind of contributions they've been making in your life.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you'd like to elaborate more on the role they've played or the impact that they have had on your life.
Yeah, definitely. So as I was talking about Joothan, that autobiography is very important to me. I think that is one document I will always feel moved by, because yeah, I recommended that book to many people as well. And then Om Prakash Valmiki, उनके और भी जितने एक एक बुक और मैंने पढ़ी थी. So उसकी जितनी भी कहानियां थी, तो it talks about चूहड़ caste. I think that's what it's called. It's based in UP again, UP and Uttarakhand. तो मतलब I became more and more aware after that कि like small things like कि सुबह सुबह जो हमारा कूड़ा लेने भी आते हैं. I was just wondering कि what if one day I just sit in that car and like in that vehicle and move around with them and just understand what their life goes through, because दूर से ही वो कचरा, मतलब हम इतनी दूर से उस गाड़ी को, उस गाड़ी की गंध नहीं सह पाते हैं. तो आई वाज जस्ट वंडरिंग कि वो लोग दिन भर उस गाड़ी में रहते हैं तो कैसा होता होगा. एंड I'll thank my under graduation curriculum for this, because it made me aware to so many people, matlab so many narratives, how it works in South India differently, how it works in North India differently. Um, and yeah, so literature is very important, I think, because it gives you that emotive understanding, that layer of matlab human emotions are essentially the same, right? But वो जो उस एक्सपीरियंस के थ्रू का बताना उन इमोशंस को, that makes you connect, I guess. तभी like we have, as humans we have the capacity to connect with each other. Stories make us connect. Theory से ज़्यादा stories have been very essential. Even other stories from my UG syllabus, which talked about, what is it called? Like subtexts within Mahabharata and Ramayana, the whole understanding of, what Rakshasas are actually, जिनको बोला जाता है. मतलब it made me challenge the whole mythology and everything. Like there's a story, right? Samudra Manthan wali. So I was just wondering, yeah, I mean, जो ये asurs and all were there, they also worked equally. तो why didn't they get the Amrit? मतलब इतना कुछ खास वो लोग बुरा नहीं करते थे. तो slowly as I read into it, I got the perspective that this is actually Aryans and Dravidians. Like if you see essentially where they come from and everything, like how their features are described, the color of the skin and the shape of the nose and other features. So literature has been very important. Like as a, it also helps me in understanding this issue in intersectionality, because I also see like other aspects also, like sexuality and even gender, class, everything. मतलब literature में तो सब कुछ मिल के ही आता है, and poems and everything. तो as a person, I think literature moves you. So उसका जो emotional understanding है वो literature, films, इन सब चीजों के through ही आता है. That's why it is very important, more than reading about movements. I think when I read about experiences, so that made me realize ki ha, my experiences are also valid. I should also write about it. And yeah, so that it is very crucial. And मतलब literature के साथ उसके जो discussions होते हैं, जो literature classes में जो discussion होते हैं, I remember there were students who were like, why are we reading this, like it doesn't pertain to us. I mean, why do we need to know about Dalits and like marginalized communities, क्या जरूरत है. So like yeah, I mean, जब वो सब सुनने को मिलता है तो समझ आता है कि we really do need it, otherwise we become caste blind, gender blind, everything. We do not see it, right? Because it doesn't pertain to us. हमें वो सब experiences करने को नहीं मिल रहे हैं. Literature gives you that sense to look around कि हाँ, your house help, who is she, where does she come from, the sweeper. And then I think you become more human. You stop bargaining. And yeah, you just start understanding कि where these people come from. So अभी कोई handicraft भी लेना होता है, try to talk to people, understand where are they coming from. And as in more as in like I'm becoming more conscious about it, I'm understanding ki there are many people who are suffering due to caste related discrimination. So I just had to open my eyes, and I think literature helped me doing that. That's all. That's what I'll say.
And I'm wondering, how has all of these influences, how have they been supportive in understanding yourself and understanding your identity? If you can say a bit more about that.
So yeah, I mean, first of all, they took away the guilt. They normalized things I'm feeling. Matlab, the it's not only me who is feeling this guilt. एंड और भी पैरेलल्स है, जैसे कि एक वाइट मैन्स बर्डन और ये सब जो होता है अलग अलग कॉन्टेक्स्ट में, वैसे ही आई थिंक आई वाज जस्ट फीलिंग द प्रिविलेज्ड दलित बर्डन, मतलब तो वो बर्डन हटाने में उसने मेरी हेल्प की, बिकॉज मैंने अपने जैसे भी लोग देखे, मतलब जब जब दलित आप शब्द सुनते हो तो आपके दिमाग में क्या आ जाता है, समवन हु इज अ मैनुअल स्कैवेंजर या हु इज लाइक इन डर्थ ऑफ रिसोर्सेस, तो मतलब वैसा ही प्रोटोटाइप बना के रखा गया है। और अगर उसके बियॉन्ड आप जाते हो तो यू आर कॉल्ड प्रिविलेज, यू मतलब प्रिविलेज्ड हो आप, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट, आई एम सेइंग कि यू आर you cannot defeat that prototype. अगर उससे beyond आप जाते हो then um, it just becomes difficult for people to digest. So for me it got normalized कि ठीक है, I am a privileged person but I'm also a Dalit, and how is it affecting me, मतलब कि it is making me feel fearful and everything. So वो सारी feelings बहुत normalize हो गई, and बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो life में होती हैं जो सोचनी पड़ती हैं, तो वो सब बहुत ज्यादा, आई मीन, या आई एम, जो गिल्ट मेरा जो फाइनली इट हैज gone off, and I'm like I'm right now I'm comfortable to tell you my caste and talk about this, and it'll go live somewhere, I'm fine with it. It is because of all these influences and people who have been okay with talking about it. Even like I was talking about the parlor wali auntie, so the conversations they used to have, their stories, how they built that enterprise, that small business, despite having so many challenges, all those things inspire me to put me forth, like put my identity forth, everything. So now I'm like, yeah, this is what I am, and people have to deal with it, and I want to become that person. जैसे मैं हमेशा से अपने सरनेम वाले खोजती थी, जैसे कि हमारा लाइक नॉर्मली होता है राइट, कि जैसे कोई फॉर एग्जांपल अनुष्का शर्मा है, सो विल बी लाइक आई एम आल्सो शर्मा, शी इज आल्सो शर्मा, लाइक जस्ट ऐसे रिलेटेबिलिटी। बट आई नेवर फाउंड पीपल ऑफ माय सरनेम एंड आई वाज ऑलवेज वंडरिंग कि ऐसा क्यों होता है, बट देन स्लोली आई रियलाइज्ड कि बिकॉज देयर इज नो रिप्रेजेंटेशन, मतलब धीरे से अभी, लाइक इफ आई एम द सेकंड जनरेशन पर्सन हु इज स्टडीइंग इन माय फैमिली, एंड अब और भी लोग हैं जो फर्स्ट जनरेशन लोग हैं, तो वहां तक पहुंचना, उस इंडस्ट्री तक पहुंचना अलग अलग, इट्स वेरी हार्ड एंड वी टेक इट फॉर ग्रांटेड, मतलब पीपल टेक इट फॉर ग्रांटेड कि हाँ हमने तो बस कर लिया, हम तो उठ के चले आए, बट ऐसा नहीं है, आई मीन, एंड यू कैन नॉट कॉल people who are marginalized lazy, because there's a lot which is burdening them. So these literary influences, when I saw it on television, films like Masan and the Geeli Pucchi thing I was talking about, Article 15, so I was like, हाँ चलो, like awareness है, मतलब we exist, उसको भूल मत जाओ, मतलब this thing is there, okay, only because you feel ashamed कि आप उन लोग को ऐसे treat करते हो, या फिर I mean you just don't want to acknowledge कि people exist, तो उसके लिए आप उनको रिप्रेजेंट नहीं करते हो। बट या फॉर अ पर्सन लाइक मी, व्हेन आई सॉ कि अच्छा हम लोगों को रिप्रेजेंटेशन मिल रहा है, तो इट गेव मी दैट होप कि या आई कैन गो फॉरवर्ड, एंड आई इट गेव मी दैट कॉन्फिडेंस। सो वी नीड रिप्रेजेंटेशन, अगर वो होता है तभी हम लोग आगे बढ़ते हैं, वरना you just वरना इट्स वेरी हार्ड टू टेक दैट फर्स्ट स्टेप, टू हैव दैट ड्रीम कि हाँ कुछ करना है। तो yeah, that is the role it plays in my life.
And thank you for sharing about these. And I'm also wondering, like, um, how have all of this representation we're speaking about, how has all of these been helpful in navigating the adverse experiences in the world? If you can say more about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it gave me more gravity and depth and breadth of examples to substantiate in arguments, and when I talk to my upper caste friends and explain to them that this is happening, this is the reality, like, and why I speak so emotionally and strongly about this. So that's the impact it is having. And yeah, even um another other adverse experiences ki, like, going to temple and all that also, uh like it has been very, matlab, you are a therapist, so I think you'll understand कि वो dissociate हो जाना, fear महसूस करना, freeze हो जाना. I felt all that, and all this representation has helped me कि नहीं, you are there, you can exist, and even if people are talking, तो sometimes I'm also like ठीक है, मतलब my safety is also important. हर बार झंडा लेके नहीं खड़े हो सकते हैं. तो if I'm seeing कि I'm not, if I'll not be safe enough if I express my opinions here, तो but I know कि somewhere things are happening, and this gives me confidence. All this representation, it's like invisible friends who are with me, right? So yeah, that's what it's helping me, मतलब हर चीज में. तो अब एजुकेशन हो, कुछ भी हो, even if other, like I remember एक one of my classmates, he got into a college through like reservation, and other people were just pulling his leg कि यार ये तो पढ़ नहीं पाता था वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. So I could substantiate my knowledge, and I just said, "Hey, I'm also belonging to that community." And then they had all shut up. मतलब तो उस that kind of confidence it gives me to have मतलब arguments नहीं, to have discussions and debates, and भाई to understand the perspective. तो जब I have all this representation का knowledge, yeah, it just helps me to prove my point of I which I was like same thing which I was talking earlier, that guilt doesn't come कि भाई मतलब हाँ कैसे आ गए मेरिट और रिजर्वेशन एंड ऑल दैट, वो नहीं सोचती अब मैं. तो ये एक या दिस हैज बीन देयर, लाइक इट हेल्प्स मी just to be there. It's like invisible friends are there with me. Yeah.
Yeah. And one last question that I have is that how have all of them contributed overall to your mental well-being? If you want to say more about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel more complete, whole, right? Like HWHOLE. There's more wholeness to my personality. I have embraced everything I am. I am a Dalit, I am a woman, I am a queer person. Like, and this makes me whole, and I don't want to give any of this away, because you know what? It will make me less kind, empathetic, like whatever basic good qualities I have. Um, so yeah, for my mental health, it has only made me more complete and connected to others. I see beyond um, the surface level. Matlab, whenever I see a person, being a mental health professional, also, I'm like, yeah, adverse experiences, trauma, uh, caste, race, whatever. Race to chhod do, there's only one race, it's called human race. So, yeah, jo bhi hai, matlab, when I look at a person, I'm like, yeah, that this person is a collection of identities and circumstances and events, memories. So this identity has helped me to be more humane, more like it gives me a sense to understand more. मतलब कि अब कोई किसी, if I see suffering anywhere, आई एम एबल टू कनेक्ट टू इट, बिकॉज आई एम लाइक हाँ बिल्कुल, क्यों नहीं हो सकता, इस बेसिस पे क्यों नहीं हो, मतलब वो एक्सेप्टेंस और अंडरस्टैंडिंग ज्यादा आसानी से आती. इवन लाइक बिफोर आई वाज अ क्वियर पर्सन, आई वाज अ होमोफोबिक पर्सन, आई वांट, मतलब क्वियर तो मैं थी हमेशा से, बट विद बिफोर दैट रियलाइजेशन केम, आई वाज अ कंडीशनड होम, मतलब थोड़ा बहुत होमोफोबिक ऑब्वियसली. देन धीरे से वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग गई, तो समझ आया, तो आई एम लाइक मेरी मेंटल हेल्थ इंप्रूव ही करी है. लाइक एक तो वो गिल्ट चला गया, फिर मेरे अंदर वो सेंस ऑफ कनेक्टेडनेस आई, एक पूरा हम लोग एक दूसरे से कनेक्टेड है, वो इंडिविजुअलिज्म नहीं फील होता है बिकॉज ऑफ दीज आइडेंटिटीज. आई एम लाइक टू मी दीज आर नॉट, to me these are just misunderstandings, right? And ठीक है, these identities have been there, we have to just acknowledge them, अंडरस्टैंड क्या सफरिंग हुई है इन चीजों की वजह से, एक दूसरे की हेल्प करना, एंड इसकी वजह से हमें क्या स्ट्रेंथ्स मिली है. लाइक आई रियली बिलीव कि being a Dalit person and reading all these Dalit texts and knowing about experiences and looking at people's stories, it gives me a huge satisfaction that I am from this community, because it's a community of warriors in the sense people who who had struggled, who stood up for their values, who were not complacent, who were ready to do something. So, of course, I'm very proud of all the people who have done some. Matlab, it was not easy कि कैसे like it's very hard कि oppressor के खिलाफ खड़े होना. It is very hard. अभी अभी कौन खड़ा हो रहा है हम में से? So like it so जब I feel कि I'm connected to this community, I get a strength even in my personal, like थिंग्स लाइक बेवकूफी भरी चीजें जैसे अभी दोस्त से लड़ाई हो जाना, इन सब चीजों में भी दिस थिंग्स गिव्स मी अ लॉट ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ कि आई हैव टू डू समथिंग. इट गिव्स मी अ पर्पस, इट गिव्स मी ऑब्जेक्टिव कि हाँ मतलब मेरी जो प्रैक्टिस है अल्टीमेटली आई वांट टू मेक अ डिफरेंस फॉर पीपल हु आर from marginalized communities. All this gives me my personality एक मोटिवेशन आगे की तरफ बढ़ने के लिए. तो आई like if you'll ask me ki, would you want to be from an upper caste, in a heartbeat I'll say no. I am very proud of what I am, and उसकी वजह से ही एंड जो भी है जो ट्रॉमा वगैरह वगैरह, उसकी वजह से ही आई हैव गॉट ऑल द गुड क्वालिटीज टू अंडरस्टैंड. तो या फॉर माई मेंटल हेल्थ एंड या आई वांट टू से मतलब कि आई रियली एम थैंकफुल फॉर माई you know ancestors, great grandfathers and grandmothers and everybody. Like उन लोग के small contributions की वजह से like my family started getting educated. तो all that is makes me really hopeful कि वो लोग कर पाए तो मैं भी कुछ कर सकती हूँ. So yeah, it's I feel very whole. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and these are such powerful words, um, all that you've said. Um, and I'm sure it'll be helpful for people listening. What was it like for you to be sharing these?
To be honest, very empowering. Like, I think this is the first time I've talked about caste to a person, like, not in my close family circle or just people who I know were safe enough or were belonging to marginalized, castes. So, I mean, yeah, you're just taking my opinion. It just makes me feel कि ठीक है, it matters. And I would love if, मतलब कि, सब लोग अपने experiences बता पाए. एंड या आई मीन वी हैव एंथोलॉजीज राइट, जैसे कि वो लव स्टोरीज एंड ऑल आता है. आई मीन कुछ जैसे जो भी दलित रिलेटेड लिटरेचर है, आई वुड लव इफ समथिंग वुड कम आउट फ्रॉम की अर्बन स्पेसेस में हाउ कास्ट वर्क्स, सो दैट या आई वुड लव कि वो रिप्रेजेंटेशन भी आए कहीं ना कहीं. अभी तक जो आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट द दलित प्रोटोटाइप राइट, तो टॉकिंग टू यू आई थिंक पहली बार आई गॉट टू टॉक अबाउट माई एक्सपीरियंसेस, बिकॉज अर्लियर एक और चीज थी कि अर्लियर आई यूज टू फील कि भाई लाइक माई एक्सपीरियंसेस डोंट रियली मैटर. आई ऑलवेज सॉर्ट ऑफ फेल्ट समवेयर बिटवीन, लाइक एक कॉन्टिन्यूम है राइट. सो यू आर अपर कास्ट और यू आर दलित, एंड आई वॉज इन समवेयर इन द मिडिल इन द सेंस की द प्रिविलेज दलित. तो आई वॉज लाइक कि like my experiences don't really matter, because I don't, what I'll tell you is second hand discrimination, or it's like symbolic discrimination. I've not been physically lynched or all that, matlab emotional damage has been there. But तो I always used to feel that guilt कि कहाँ बोलोगे क्या फर्क पड़ेगा उससे, मतलब वो इतना मैटर नहीं करता है. तो कहीं पे भी I was not falling ever. I think this is the first time I've talked about my so-called experiences related to caste. Like there's lot like on daily basis which really moves me. Small things like car के पीछे जो people put surname वाले stickers. I don't know if you've seen it. तो बड़े बड़े. So I'm like क्या जरूरत है इसकी? जैसे कि and sometimes I think if I I don't have the guts to put it, because I don't, earlier I don't used to feel proud about it, but I don't see the purpose of it anymore. It's just like, yeah, we are, इस वंश से हैं, उस वंश से हैं, ये वो. So all these small things, I mean, only when once your eye opens to all these things, you become more and more reflective. So I just wish more anthologies come, like जैसे वो modern love आया था, right? So I wish ऐसे कुछ आए, दलित love, I don't know. ऐसे बहुत, मतलब I would just be more confident. I think मेरे जैसे और भी लोग, you know, they'll be able to participate in your interviews and more such things, because it's not easy to talk. अभी जैसे queer होने के बारे में ही बात करना is so difficult for some people. तो this is another layer of that thing. So yeah, just thank you for giving me the space. I emotionally, physically, I'm feeling very very honored कि एंड कि मैं अपने एंसेस्टर्स वगैरह का पर्सपेक्टिव, लाइक उनकी मेहनत, सॉर्ट ऑफ this has culminated into this interview ki I could speak, I'm speaking to you in English. So that's a huge thing. So yeah, that's all I would say.
And thank you for also trusting us, trusting me, and coming here for this interview.